crisp air of a Starkville Saturday welcomes the festivity of college football. It's Tennessee State and Mississippi State. Mike Leach continues his forward march. The team already bowl eligible now for a 12th straight season. They look to bully another team today with Tennessee State, the opponent out of the Ohio Valley Conference. And the air raid is everywhere in this part of the Magnolia State, in the literal sense and the metaphorical as well, on another splendid Saturday in the South. Mike Leach and this squad ready to go here in the penultimate week of the regular season after what was a frenetic game last week against Auburn. Week 1, they set the school record for biggest comeback ever. They did it again last week. 40 unanswered points. Will Rogers leading the charge. He's got several school records in line to break a few more today. He picked up this one last week. 6 passing touchdowns in a single game. That's more than any other Bulldogs quarterback in the history of the program. We're so glad you're here with us. Mike Cousins, Dustin Fox, the former Ohio State and NFL defensive back. So you had that wild game last week. Yeah. You've got a huge game coming up on Thanksgiving Day, but you cannot afford here to overlook an FCS opponent.
I don't think they'll look past anybody, not with this offense, not with Will Rogers at quarterback. The air raid attack led by Will Rogers, we talked about it. It's designed to get the football out of his hands as quickly as possible. Quick passes. They've got 4 or 5 dudes on the outside that can run with it after the catch. You look at the YAC. It leads the Power 5 with over 2,000 yards after the catch.
And Dustin, you're usually the most notable Buckeye in any room you walk into or any building.
Not today, Mike Cousins.
Not today, my friend. The 1995 Heisman Trophy winner who a year ago probably wasn't thinking about being in coaching. Eddie George said that this job really found him, and he's found success. This is a team that in the spring went just 2-5. So this is their second 2021 season, and they are 5-5 coming into action today. Mississippi State won the toss. They deferred, but they are losers on the kickoff as it goes out of bounds. And we'll see the Tigers offense take the field for the first time.
I'll tell you, we talked to Eddie before the game today, Mike. Doesn't that guy still look like he can play some football?
He's loose. He's calm. He is relaxed.
Well, he's just, I mean, he's still yoked.
Yes.
He's yoked out. For a young man in his late 40s.
It's about a 5-hour trip to get down
here. They had a wild trip.
Some of their buses had some issues, and so he ended up driving himself down here. So the Tigers start 1st and 10 from their own 35-yard line. Back to pass on 1st down. It's Starling, the running back, out of the backfield. And he gets back to the line of scrimmage, and that's about it as he's tossed out of bounds by the safety, Colin Duncan.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see Garnett play today. He hasn't had much experience this season. Jeremy Hickbottom was the starting quarterback for most of the year, was injured against Austin Peay a week ago. In fact, had to be carted off the field with a pretty significant injury to his back. They were hoping he was going to make the trip today, weren't sure. But we're going to probably see, Mike, maybe 3 different quarterbacks for the Tigers.
Shael Garnett with the handoff. The Bulldogs swarm to the line of scrimmage, get the pushback. It'll be 3rd down and 10 as they go to a passing down here. And the loss of Hickbottom is monumental for Tennessee State because he'd accounted for about 60% of their offense. So this, for Mississippi State, is the 2nd to last regular season game, but this is the final game of the year for Tennessee State. So it's a big change at a difficult spot.
No question. And Hickbottom can run. I mean, he's got 7 touchdowns on the season on the ground. And in a situation like this, you may want to have a quarterback who can take off and go.
We've seen what this Bulldogs defense is capable of. They allowed only 5 first downs against Vandy. It's a clean pocket here. That ball is tipped and incomplete, intended for Starling, the running back. So despite favorable field position to start for Tennessee State, they will punt on their opening drive.
That's a good start for Zach Arnett and his defense. 3 and outs. And we get a chance to see this high-powered offense with pretty good field position.
Mosley to punt. Wally, as he drifts toward the sideline, he's got it with some room to dance up there. Ball comes loose as he gets hit near the 40-yard line along the Tennessee State sideline. That pile gets uncovered. The ball belongs to the Bulldogs.
I think Dylan Lawrence is the one that ends up with the football. Here he comes. Mr. Rogers. See what he's done over the last 8 games. My goodness. 382 yards per game. And what's most impressive is not just the touchdown passes, but that completion percentage. That's what Mike Leach needs. He needs you to be accurate and efficient in this offense.
Last week, 415 yards through the air. He's got plenty of time. As he throws short across the middle. It's caught by Dylan Johnson, a sophomore running back out of Greenville, Mississippi, to get the afternoon started on offense for the Bulldogs. And an injured player preceding 2nd and 6 for Mississippi State. Mike Leach's team scoring about 30 points a game, and the offense has really surged as they spread things out here. Only them and Nevada have 6 players with at least 30 catches this year, and they're the only school in the country with multiple players to have caught at least 60. Very well distributed offense for the Bulldogs this year, and it's about consistency for them to make sure that they don't have to dig themselves out of a hole this week. Jason Bryant, the middle linebacker, the junior from Nashville, is the injured player for Tennessee State. Well, Dustin, Eddie George's defense, in terms of yards allowed per game, is best in the Ohio Valley Conference, giving up 341 yards a game. What kind of a game do you expect today that Mississippi State is going to put up offensively?
600 yards.
Could be that kind of day.
I would assume against this FCS foe, they should put up some pretty big numbers.
Rogers again has time. He flings over the middle, incomplete. He wanted Wally right down the middle between the hashes. Had everybody beat. The ball's just a little bit too long.
Just overthrows Wally. Had him down the seam. Take a look at some of the numbers on the season for this Mississippi State offense.
Which is most impressive to you?
Passing yards per game. That's what they do. They could throw the football 75, 80 times a game, Mike, if they get that many snaps.
Wally in motion on 3rd down. The Bulldogs looking to move it after they forced a punt. Pass is complete to Malik Heath, who gets rolled out of bounds around the 25-yard line by the safety Josh Green. A pickup of 30 yards.
This offense is designed with lots of crossing routes. Heath is going to come across the formation, right at the hash. He throws it to a spot. Everything's designed to be accurate and quick. Great throw by Will Rogers.
Sophomore quarterback from outside of Jackson, Mississippi, gives it up for Dylan Johnson, his 2nd touch of the day. Coming off a week where last week he ran for a career-high 62 yards.
You know, we asked Coach Leach earlier this week, Mike, how much do they want to run the football? And he said it kind of depends on the game. It's not like this air raid attack just has to throw every single snap. And remember, last week, after they completed the comeback, that's when they began to run a little more clock and run the football.
4-man rush, pocket holes, pass to the end zone is caught. Touchdown, Austin Williams. Mississippi State strikes first on a 21-yard floater to the end zone. a year that has been a tumultuous kicking season with two different field goal kickers. Nolan McCord, the only one we expect to see today. Brandon Reeves listed inactive, and it's 7-0 Mississippi State.
So the Bulldogs get off to a fast start here at home. Austin Williams on the corner route, his second touchdown of the season, 7-0.
Didn't have to wait long to hear the cowbells ringing today as it's 7-0 Mississippi State. And a 21-yard touchdown pass, Will Rogers to Austin Williams. Mike Cousins, Dustin Fox, glad to be with you from Starkville, Mississippi on a crisp fall Saturday. Tennessee State out of the Ohio Valley Conference, giving the ball on offense for the second time. Lots more football coming your way, and after we are done here, 4 Eastern, 3 Central, it'll be Missouri and Florida, both looking for bowl eligibility, and our Saturday night game presented by T-Mobile as Matt Corral and number 12 Ole Miss hosting Vandy in a game of interest for Mississippi State fans, and that's all to come on the SEC Network and the ESPN app. Get to watching this game if you're a Bulldogs fan. Do a little scouting later on as the Rebels take the field. First drive started at the 35 on a kickoff out of bounds. Tennessee State this time from its own 25 after they went 3 and out on their opening drive. They hand it off and lose a couple yards. Mississippi State allowing 103 rushing yards a game. Third in the SEC. Look out.
Banks got in there in a hurry. Just beats the center, Frazier. And there was nowhere for Starling to go.
And on that first drive, there was a player down for Tennessee State. Now on their second, Jalen Gupton, the left tackle, the redshirt freshman, stands 6'5", 290 out of Nashville. He's down with the athletic training staff taking a look at his leg. On these first 2 drives, we've seen the redshirt freshman Shael Garnett, transfer from Auburn, getting the start at quarterback. And he transferred after their spring game. Last week was his first action of the year as he stepped in for Jeremy Hickbottom. See how important he is to this team. He left last week's game with a back injury. He was taken off on a stretcher, came back to the stadium later in the game, and accounts for more than half of their offense they've put together this year. So it's relatively untested waters at quarterback as we see Garnett getting the start, and we expect to see Devion Bryant throughout the course of this game as well, and perhaps even Edwin Rhodes, who is yet to play this year. Just 4 minutes in, Mississippi State up 7-0 in an injury timeout. Injury timeout for Tennessee State. They face a 2nd and 12. Their first down handoff went backwards as they look for their first down of the game, trailing 7-0 against Mississippi State. Garnett lets the screen get set up. This goes to Starling, who again finds a defender waiting and ready to drive him into the Bermuda grass. This time it was Tyrus Wheat, the linebacker.
They move Tyrus Wheat all over the place. He's one of the most dynamic linebackers they've got. And he comes up with a big stop there to put the Tigers in 3rd and long. You would have thought the screen pass maybe would have been a perfect play for this particular down. They go after it on 2nd down. Now they're in a really tough spot backed up.
After all that commotion at the end of the play, it goes down as only a loss of 1 for the Tigers. They've put up 30 points on a couple of occasions this year, but the level of competition today, the best they've seen all year. And how about that? by the shoulder pads. Nathan Pickering gets the sack, a loss of a dozen.
It looked like for a second he was going to grab the face mask, but he doesn't. He just comes around and grabs the shoulder pads, does a great job getting in there for his third sack of the season.
Sacks in back-to-back games for the Mississippi native. Caleb Mosley for his second punt. While he drifts to the 39-yard line where he's got some room to run. A reversal, of course. He gets a block with some help. Now to the 40, and he stumbles forward to about the 31-yard line where Mosley, the punter, makes the stop on a 29-yard dazzling return.
Well, it looked like for a moment he was going to go all the way to the left side, then just kind of skirts with the spin move back to the right. And then, luckily for Tennessee State, the punter, Caleb Mosley, is able to just kind of trip him up. But great field position again for the Bulldogs to start their second drive.
Mississippi State, winners of 3 of their last 4. Last loss coming by just 3, a painful trio of points against Arkansas. Looking to get to 7-4, facing a short week coming up with the game on Thursday. Opening drive, Will Rogers, a 21-yard touchdown pass. Now has 21 school records, as with his touchdown, that was his 30th touchdown pass of the year, surpassing the 29 that he held with Dak Prescott, with Dak doing it in 2015.
We told our production crew just keep updating that graphic as we go because it may change throughout this game.
It assuredly will. Makai Polk, who leads the SEC now with 80 catches, his first touch of the day. Rogers came in just 72 yards shy of Prescott's single-season passing yards mark, and he may well just obliterate that on this drive alone. After they went 60 yards on their first drive. He fakes the look to the flat.
Not all day, Mike.
And now flicks it to the sideline. It's Polk making his second grab, but he's got all day. He has as much time as most of us have waiting in the doctor's waiting room, which is a lot more than we'd like.
It's interesting when you watch these routes by the wide receivers. This is just like a simple concept. Like they all go about 5 to 10 yards and just kind of sit down in the zone. And he just scans the field and says, who's open? And then comes back to his third or fourth read and delivers the strike.
Sitting underneath the defense, the catch by Calvin.
Yeah, Calvin is a transfer from Washington State. Spent time with Leach, has really stepped into that slot wide receiver position. Extremely shifty. We talk about the yak, the yards after catch. He's one of the best on the team at breaking tackles.
Rogers with 5 options. It's Marks out of the backfield, and he dropped what could have been a touchdown.
Boy, he just takes his eyes off the football for just a minute. The running back always kind of tends to be the safety valve in this offense. You watch, see the eyes of Rogers. He scans the field and comes back to his right, does a good job, and sees that Marks is wide open. That's just a flat-out drop.
He's caught 71 passes this year. Second most on the team. And with confidence, they give it right back to him to the right side. Touchdown, Marks.
Well, and then you go and redeem yourself.
The way they move the ball through the air, it's easy to condition a defense that doesn't see an attack like this all that often to just expect a pass play after play, and then a handoff, nearly a perfect run by Marks to help make it 14-0.
Great blocking up front. You know, they don't run the football that often, but this is an easy touchdown, untouched for Marks. He drops the touchdown pass the previous play. Bulldogs 14, Tigers nothing.
A little bit less first half pressure on Will Rogers today as he's thrown a touchdown, handed it off to Jaquavius Marks for a touchdown. 14-0 Mississippi State as they've touched the ball twice, scored twice, and in 2 possessions so far, Tennessee State has yielded negative 15 yards. On the return, Dayron Johnson trying to stimulate his team's offense. Comes up just short of the 25-yard line. So Will Rogers on the opening drive set the single-season touchdown record with 30 now, and has also, needing just 72 yards and passing for 80 so far, set another record, surpassing Dak Prescott for a second time today.
I told
with
you,
the
just
most
keep
yards
updating his records. He's going to break a bunch today. My goodness, this guy is having such a terrific season for Mississippi State.
Only he and for at least 3,000 yards in a season here at Mississippi State, and plenty more to follow. Although if the game continues to advance in this fashion, who knows how long the first teamers will be out there. Rodell Rockman, the tight end, has bounced around throughout his college career. Started at Urbana University in Southwest Ohio, then made a trip up to Northwest Ohio where he played for Bowling Green. He's played linebacker, defensive end, and now settling in where he feels most comfortable, he says, at tight end. Some open space to work with there. A hard tackle stops Jalen Rouse. Tyrus Wheat in on the action again. It's another 3rd down and long.
His defense is really flying around today, Mike. Zach Arnett, who we chatted with earlier in the week, wasn't real thrilled with his defense the previous game against Auburn. But I'll tell you what, here's a look at Zach Arnett. Enjoyed chatting with him this week. Gave us some great details about his defense.
A great elucidation into their effort against Auburn, where he said, you know what, momentum's a heck of a thing. We just started playing better in the second half against
and
Auburn.
Their offense scored 40 points.
Garnett gets tripped up. He goes down. Wheat's on the scene. 3rd punt of the first quarter forthcoming.
Tyrus Wheat is all over the field. Maybe one of the best defensive players they have. Let's watch number 2. Just beats the right tackle, Brandon James, off the ball. Too easy for Tyrus Wheat.
Certainly some offensive records in store today for the Bulldogs, but to this point, their defense has held Tennessee State to minus 16 yards on 3 drives. Tonight, SEC football final has you covered. The biggest stories of the day, breakdowns of all the games. Dari Noka runs the show with Gene Chizik, Chris Doring, and Benjamin Watson. 10:30 Eastern, 9:30 Central after Vandy Ole Miss with SEC Saturday night. It's all on the SEC Network and on the ESPN app.
One app.
That's one app and one tap.
That's right.
As they say.
Love it. A lot of SEC games on the app today, Mike.
Well, with teams stepping out of conference play, you got a lot more action to follow. The horizontal action on that throw hits Caleb Ducky. It's just his 4th catch of the year. Stopped by Eddie Graham, the corner returning to action. One of a couple of transfers they have on this squad from Southeastern University, an NAIA school down in Florida. Here for the Bulldogs. Sees J.J. Jernigan onto the field for the first time. The crossing route finds Wally. A Bulldogs first down, a gain of 11 for number 11.
NC State's going to drop everybody into coverage. They're going to rush 3, drop 8. And Raymond, who is a really talented safety for the Tigers, comes up and makes this tackle. But, again, everything is dictated by timing and precision in this offense, and you saw it again right there.
They zip it out for Johnson. And he leaps his way up the sideline, edged out by Graham.
Yeah, these running backs, they nearly have as many catches as they do rushes. This is kind of like a run, right? They get their running back out on the perimeter. It's a quick, easy throw. And the wide receivers do such a great job blocking down the field. You saw number 11 there, Wally, doing a good job on the outside.
And a surging defensive stop. Limits the Bulldogs after a gain of 17 on that last play.
Locke at 27 comes out. He does a good job knifing him down. Really the first near negative yardage play for this Tigers defense so far.
It's just a 3-man rush. 8 defenders lie in wait, and yet somehow Wally still finds himself open to set up a Bulldogs 1st and goal. 25 yards on the catch and run.
It's too easy, Mike. When you drop into coverage when you're rushing just 3, you've got to pattern recognize. You've got to feel where the wide receivers are coming from instead of allowing those wide open zones.
No easy tasks today with these talented wide receivers. The strong arm of Rodgers for Brandon Fisher, the first-year defensive coordinator, the son of former Titans head coach Jeff Fisher, who drafted Eddie George back in '96. Along the goal line, the catch is made, a spinning score for Mississippi State as Austin Williams snags his 2nd of the afternoon.
Just a flat route to the outside. Watch this. Just feels where the defender's at. Cuts outside. Muscles his way into the end zone.
Phenomenal throw and grab with Josh Green, the defender, within inches of deflecting that. Nolan McCord's extra point is true. Another touchdown for Rodgers, his 31st of the season. Still with 7 regular season quarters to go. So they're going to put up a ton of points today, Dustin. And the number has increased here in year number 2, which has been the case at all of the head coaching stops for Mike Leach.
Had a chance to play against this offense, Mike, back in 2002 when Coach Leach was at Texas Tech. And Cliff Kingsbury was the quarterback. And remember that name, head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. He's had good quarterbacks everywhere he's been. They all put up big numbers. And Will Rodgers, well, he may be one of the better ones that he has coached, and he's just in his 2nd year.
Plenty of eligibility left. 76% completion rate, which is just out of this world. He finished at 69% last year, the 2nd best by a true freshman ever. So you find the right quarterback, you pair him with a great offensive mind, and this is the type of offense you get. In fact, on game day, Lane Kiffin was so bold as to say he was going to pick Mississippi State to get an upset over Auburn last week, and gave a huge compliment to Mike Leach.
I would like to say this. Mike Leach is the best offensive coach in America. I'm taking Mississippi State.
Now, it looked like for a time everybody else was right there.
Yep.
Until 40 unanswered, made the biggest comeback in school history.
Yeah.
Blocking the return team, number 57. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. 1st down.
And Mike Leach, gregarious as he is, in his response to that, said, I'd be lying if I told you he, being Lane Kiffin, didn't think he's the best offensive coordinator. It was modest of him. We'll just let the love keep coming in both directions.
That's going to be so much fun next Thursday night right here in Starkville, the Egg Bowl. I'm sure we'll talk more about that game as we go. But both these offenses, Ole Miss and Mississippi State, two of the most prolific offenses in all the FBS. And two really good quarterbacks. Matt Corral is a Heisman Trophy candidate.
Mississippi State bowl eligible for the 12th straight season. It's every year going back to 2010. And within the SEC, only Alabama, Georgia, A&M, and Mississippi State have been eligible for the last 12 years. Which tells you also, going through several different head coaches, they could hire.
Well, a positive gain on first down for the Tigers. That's good news.
I suppose a negative gain would be a loss, right?
Well, it's been going the opposite direction for him all game, Mike. I'm just pointing out some positivity here for Tennessee State. There you go.
Garnett with the completion and a much-needed first down. Cam Weiss, who was their leading receiver in the spring season, where they played 7 games before Eddie George's tenure started. And they moved the chains. Eddie George took this job April 23rd. He's been involved in so many things since getting out of the NFL, whether it was the financial industry, being a restaurateur, being an actor, and head coaching. He's surrounded himself now with people who have plenty of coaching experience, as this is his first coaching job, head coach or assistant, at any level.
You know, Mike, when we talked with Eddie, it was one of the more fascinating conversations I think that we've had with any coach all season long. And I thought it was fascinating to hear him talk about the end of his football career. Because he said he was bitter towards life, didn't really know what to do, didn't get to kind of go out on his own terms, had the injury, went to Dallas for a season, didn't really work out there, and you know, for a player who had such a great career, it was interesting to hear him say that. And now at his age, maybe trying to try some new things, figure things out. He said his golf game got a little boring.
And you know what? He ended up on Broadway. How did a former Heisman Trophy winner get there? We'll tell you when the second quarter starts from Starkville. In Starkville, Mississippi, start of the second quarter between Tennessee State and Mississippi State. A 3-touchdown first, as Tennessee State is held to just -2 yards to start things off, and a punishing hit on Rodell Rockmond as Garnett looked to throw it back, and Colin Duncan just came surging through, ready to knock some sense into something.
Boy, Duncan is like shot out of a cannon on this play. He's there before the ball, the ball's not even there, and he's there. Great job by Duncan.
Just one first down in the opening 15 minutes for the Tigers. 5-5 record, 3-3 in the Ohio Valley Conference, taking a significant step up in competition for this 5-hour trip today. 3-man rush does get there. Rockman shakes off one tackle and is ahead to the 32-yard line, charted the first down marker, and tackled by Jet Johnson. So they'll punt again.
Moses is going to get some work today, Mike. Defense getting after it today. Coach Zach Arnett's got to be happy with the way his guys have shown up in this game. What a punt that is.
Rolling back inside the 20. Can they corral him, though? He's already gone for 20 yards, almost 25 on the return by the sophomore.
gorgeous day for football in Stark Vegas, Mike.
The difference between standing inside about the 30-yard line right now and standing outside of that spot in the shade or out of it,
20 degrees.
Unbelievable. You need gloves and a hat in the shade.
You and I were down there on the field before the game, pregame, and we were just looking for the sun. Just stay out of the shadow because it was freezing. Temperature should get into the 60s today in Mississippi.
Offsides. Defense, number 17. Number 17 came in the neutral zone with contact. 5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
Emmanuel Baez jumps a little early.
Bulldogs set up the screen. Ball comes loose on the tackle, and it appears that the Tigers recover. And the ball belongs to Tennessee State. James Green takes it away all the way back to the sideline after Cameron Stewart helped force the fumble.
First down, Tennessee State.
Well, they try so hard to break tackles. And when you do that, multiple guys are going to come in. You got to secure the football. Polk usually pretty sure-handed and holds on to the rock. Not right there. Good job by the Tigers. And James Green is right there to get the stop for the defense and the turnover. And we'll see if they can do with it anything on offense. That was Josh Green with the strip.
Well, this defense this year has been great against the run. Since Mike Leach started last year, the Bulldogs have allowed 12 or fewer first downs on 3 occasions. They're on pace to do even better than that today. They allowed just 1 first down thus far. Emmanuel Forbes up to make the stop. And Zach Arnett is, I guess you could say, emerging here in a couple seasons with the Bulldogs. Tutored under Rocky Long, the longtime head coach at San Diego State, where the last 2 seasons there, he was the defensive coordinator. Arnett was going to go up to Syracuse, made a quick change, and headed to warmer weather down here in Starkville. And
What, you didn't like your alma mater for like 3 days?
the fall is beautiful. The rest of the year, you got to make sure you dress in layers, and that's at least 3 layers. Second down. And that's a first down on the completion to Dayron Johnson, who's battled a hamstring injury the last couple weeks, but their leading wide receiver gets them their second first down of the day. So Zach Arnett, Mississippi State's defensive coordinator, Dustin, when we talked to him earlier this week, he doesn't necessarily give long, detailed answers, but the way that he portrayed it was certainly one of the offense helped us a lot more than perhaps our performance got us back in the game. Fair to say?
I think it's fair.
Now, the optimist, I think, would say would be that the defense had to have played better to help the offense allow them on that comeback.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get to on our call. Want to see my old friend?
Hugh Jackson, offensive coordinator for Tennessee State. Most recently, the head coach of the Cleveland Browns from 2016 to 2018. So much experience to be able to help bolster what Eddie George is building at Tennessee State, being a first-time head coach.
Got to know Coach Jackson pretty well when he was in Cleveland. Of course, I do a local radio show in Cleveland. And needless to say, not a great time for him in Cleveland. He was good in Oakland, but he's a very good offensive mind. When he was with the Cincinnati Bengals, he was one of the best offensive coordinators in the league.
That's Johnson again for the first down. Jackson been the offensive coordinator for the Bengals, the Falcons, the Washington football team, at USC and at Cal. And Dustin, one of your former Ohio State teammates is a coach here as well.
Hey, Richard McNutt is the defensive backs coach for the Tigers. And Richard and I played opposite each other at cornerback for Ohio State for a couple seasons there in 01 and 02 when we won a national championship. Of course, Pepe Pearson's another Buckeye. So running back for Ohio State. So a lot of connections here and a lot of experience. I think things are certainly pointing in the right direction for Tennessee State and these young players they've got on their roster.
They've got a 2nd and 9 at the Mississippi State 30, putting together their best drive of the day after they forced a fumble, and they take a timeout. All smiles for Eddie George. That's just his disposition no matter what the score is.
He just wants to get first downs right now.
Mississippi State, number 25 in the country this week. 4 wins against Power 5 teams with winning records, including at Auburn and A&M. And inside the top 10, only Georgia can make that claim. As the Bulldogs lead 21-0 here, second quarter, out of a Tennessee State timeout. They designed this run off to the right side that yields nothing. Nathaniel Watson, the linebacker, hoping to get some pushback on that. That's been the case most of the day. The Tigers have just 30 yards, but better than where they started the quarter, which was at -2 total yards.
Well, Mike, listen, this is the best drive they've had. It's off the turnover. They're in plus territory. You got two downs here. They're going to go for this on 4th down, I'm sure. If they can get a couple or maybe half the distance. You can't imagine if they would try a field goal.
Longest of the season for their kicker, Antonio Zita, is only 39 yards. That's 3rd and 9. Bulldogs show blitz and they bring it. Pressure forces Garnett to just heave one off his back foot.
It could be grounded. We're going to talk about this.
Yeah, it didn't look like he got outside the tackle box.
I don't think he did. And it was Wheat with the pressure. They're going to call grounding.
Intentional grounding. Offense, number 4. The ball be placed at the spot of the foul. The down counts. 4th down.
You'll see the tackle, 78 right there, Brandon Jones. He clearly does not get outside the box. This is a good look. And he's on the hash. He's not even close. I mean, there's no one in the area. That's an easy call. Now you got to punt the football.
Well, in a game like this, FBS versus FCS, one of the biggest differences is certainly going to be along the offensive and defensive line. So as that pressure gets there, that's really the only move for Garnett, lest he be smothered into the turf. A beautiful morning turns into a gorgeous afternoon here on the campus of Mississippi State. A good day for the Bulldogs thus far, looking to get to 7-4 as they get set for 2 games in 6 days. With Ole Miss right around the corner. Mike Cousins along with Dustin Fox. We're glad you're with us as the sun shines and the Bulldogs offense sparks to life on a first down handoff to Jo'quavious Marks, who's already got a touchdown here today, and Will Rogers has thrown for a couple as well. He's now picked up 2 more records today, passing Dak Prescott for most touchdown passes in a season and most yards thrown in a season. He's just about halfway to another 300-yard game. That'll put him at 151 for the afternoon as he comes in having thrown for at least 300 yards in 8 straight games.
He may have 300 yards in the first half, Mike. I mean, he has just been playing pitch and catch out here. It's like that father-son in the opening montage. That's what he looks like right now. Just wide receivers running wide open against his defense. Not surprising.
Throws a frozen rope toward the sideline where Ducking makes his second catch of the day. It's a first down. Dustin, you mentioned, what was it, 2002? You're at Ohio State. You're going up against Texas Tech and Mike Leach. As you prepared that week, what was that week like trying to get ready for this offense?
Well, it was difficult because we knew we had to play a lot of dime and a lot of nickel. And you know you have
4 and 5 defensive backs.
Yeah, you have to drop a lot of guys into coverage. You got to be cognizant of your discipline, your zones. I was a cornerback. I played a lot of cover 2 that day and a lot of cover 3. And they gave us a game now. I mean, we were a highly ranked team that year that we won the title. But they came into the horseshoe, and Cliff Kingsbury was, I mean, that was when they had Wes Welker in the slot. I mean, they had some dudes on that team. And it was very similar to the offense we're seeing here today for Mississippi State.
So when a quarterback drops back to pass, you're at cornerback. What are the most important things to be looking for?
Depends what coverage you're in. If you're in cover 3, you got to obviously keep your eyes on the man in front of you, and the quarterback as well, to see if it's going to be a quick game. And if it's not, you got to make sure you're behind deep, is the deepest, wide is the widest, because they will take shots down the field.
It's tipped and incomplete. Ducking has gotten a lot of attention on this drive and nearly had another catch. We're a third down for the Bulldogs today. I think there are grocery lists longer than Mike Leach's play call sheet.
You see like these coaches in the NFL, like if you look at like Sean McVay's, he's got like this, for the Rams, he's got like this laminated board, like it's like a poster board they carry on the sidelines, and Mike Leach just carries like a couple note cards. It's incredible. But if you do something well over and over again, you can have plays like this happen.
Malik Heath, he lit a match. He leaves scorched earth behind him. Touchdown, 56 yards.
Talk about the yards after the catch. Tackles must be made on the outside, and they get great blocks. That's Austin Williams, 85, who gets the block on the edge, and then you just see that speed from Heath.
A touchdown from the second-year Bulldog, a couple years in junior college, and in the blink of an eye, it's 28-0.
Hey, Mike, I got a fever. The only answer is more cowbell and touchdowns for the Bulldogs.
The last time I was here, 2018, I left the stadium and I said, you know what? Can you speak up? Temporary hearing loss.
Yeah, it's loud.
And it's wonderful.
Yeah, and it's not a full crowd today, as it being a non-conference foe, but it's still loud, Mike. I can't imagine, like, next Thursday night at the Egg Bowl, right here, with all the cowbells and the band, which is fantastic, how loud it's going to be. And frankly, I may have a hard time hearing you on our drive home today, back to Birmingham, Mike. It's loud.
Yeah, you'll probably be asleep in the passenger seat, leaving me to drive.
Well, the good thing is I get tired of listening to you anyway.
Well, it's time to represent your school. Show us how big you're going today. Submit your best fan video this weekend to hashtag #ShowYourSaturday, and you might just get your 15 seconds of fan fame. This is about as easy as it's been for Mississippi State to complete passes today.
Love that. Everybody runs the air raid, Mike.
Except for Dana Holgerson, who says he's been kicked out of the club.
Yeah, they kicked him out about 10 years ago. He said he runs the ball too much.
So down 4 scores. Here's Michael Mitchell at running back. As Tennessee State has garnered 13 yards of offense. First-year head coach Eddie George, the Heisman Trophy winner, College Football Hall of Famer, owner of of an MBA from Northwestern, father of two. And as he got out of the NFL, Dustin, you mentioned it a little bit earlier. One of the words he used was bitter.
Yeah.
And that was because things didn't end the way he had hoped. You know, he was with the Titans for the majority of his career, went to the Cowboys. It wasn't exactly the way that anybody would have drawn it up, as he wasn't a starter during his time there and had been for every game of his Titans career. And he said, you know, I thought I was going to have a teary press conference and go through the process of grieving and joy and anger of all of those things, because I was saying goodbye to the part of me who was Eddie George, the football player. He wasn't needed anymore in the NFL, and he had spent his entire life trying to become that person. Now, that's not unique. Like, many people go through that. But he said nothing replaces the thrill of being in the locker room after a win. And he said, you know, what was going to be that next thing? How do I get that? It wasn't necessarily closing a business deal. It wasn't necessarily winning on the golf course. He was good at all of those things. And so as he couldn't express himself fully on the football field anymore, he found another way to do it. And that was as an actor. He did some Shakespearean work and also ended up on Broadway in the musical Chicago as Billy Flynn. And this was his acting teacher, Anna Maria Franzella, the late Anna Maria Franzella. He said of her, he said, a little Italian woman who changed my life, and that she pushed me and made me believe I could play Billy Flynn early on in my career. And at first, as many of us go into things that are nervous, that are nerve-wracking and new, he said, look, I'm not singing in front of anybody. Forget it.
I thought it was amazing. He talked about, like, one of the first times he was on stage, he got stage fright and actually ran off of the stage and said, I'm never going back on stage. Never again. Guess what? He got back on stage and he sang.
And what he said was that Anna Maria taught him to be a student of life, a Renaissance man. Already had the Heisman in the back pocket, right? So the next goal was the EGOT, the Emmy, the Grammy, the Oscar, the Tony. He's a great actor. You can go watch clips on YouTube and hear him sing and act. He has a stage presence. He has a presence, period. But that also carries over on stage.
Well, you dominated the whole call because you're obsessed with acting, and in your improv classes you take, Mike. You could have talked to Eddie for about an hour just about his acting career.
Maybe 7 hours, yeah. But that was very interesting to hear him talk about being able to express himself in that way, to be able to be on stage and to have kind of a new pursuit in life. Speaking of pursuit,
stop by Russell.
There's a great effort into the backfield. DeMonte Russell, the defensive end.
Just as they feel like they get something going, it's stopped in a hurry. Russell unblocked right up the middle for the loss.
The other part of that with acting for Eddie George, as you said, with the stage fright, is...
Do you have stage fright ever?
Yes, yeah.
Really?
And it's not in...
You do TV.
Right. We talk to however many people could watch a game, but I feel like I'm just talking to you. If you get up on stage and you try and act, even in front of the smallest crowd, as Eddie George told us, those people can see you fail, and they react, and you see their reaction. And that can be scarier than being on field in front of 100,000. Nearly picked off along the outside. Martin Emerson almost had it. The flag is down on third down.
I think they're going to get PI on the defense.
Pass interference. Defense, number 1. The ball will be placed at the spot of the foul. First down.
Martin Emerson just gets there a little bit early. Watch number 1. He's going to come into your screen off the right side in the coverage and just kind of comes through the back of Cam Weish.
Ball got right between the hands in that throw intended for Johnson. Coverage by Emmanuel Forbes.
Good coverage by Forbes. All the way up here in the press box. It's a big time hit by number 13.
That was an organ condensing hit there from Forbes.
Multiple organs.
8 of 12, 33 yards. The offense with a shift. The defense adjusts. And Garnett takes the Tigers' second timeout.
Timeout.
3:40 before the half, but Tennessee State looking to get its first points of the day. Great day here on campus in Starkville, where it's a confluence of sporting seasons. Football's got a couple of home games over the course of 6 days. Volleyball was home on Friday. Men's and women's basketball seasons have started. It's a good time of the year.
Our boy was at a little hoops game last night. Our great spotter.
Our spotter, John Tobias, making the trip
Hustling down here. He's the Hustle Award today.
from the Charleston Classic here to Starkville and all the way back. That is the Hustle Award of the week. And he is a college professor as well, our spotter, John Tobias, at UNC Charlotte.
That's right.
You know, I feel inferior next to you athletically, and now it's academically in which I feel inferior next to Professor Tobias as well. Just continues my lifelong imposter syndrome. 28-0 Mississippi State.
You're going to be a better actor than all of us. Well, what do you dial up here? You're going to go empty set, try to get something quick as State's going to rush three, maybe bring a little pressure with Tyrus Wheaton.
Yep. He makes it a four-man rush. The twist along the line doesn't get there. Another hard hit as Johnson makes the catch, and Forbes has just been waiting to pounce. He's waiting for the ball to get there, and then the blink of an eye, he makes the hit.
Yeah, he just sinks about 5 yards into his zone, and he just keeps his eyes on the quarterback, feels the wide receiver break, and he's there right as the football is delivered. A tough day to make your first start.
Yeah, Garnett, who came in last week as the starter, Jeremy Hickbottom, an integral part of what they do offensively. And Garnett, who transferred from Auburn, he committed to Gus Malzahn, who subsequently moved on to UCF. And Garnett didn't play in 2020. He was there for their spring game this year and then elected to move on. I think, Dustin, that over the course of time, we're going to see Devion Bryant as well.
Yeah, in fact, Bryant was the second quarterback in last week, and Garnett came in as well in that game against Austin Peay. And they kind of just were battling in practice this week to see who was going to get the start in the game. And I wouldn't be surprised if at some point we do see Bryant get some snaps.
And here comes Garnett on 4th and 6.
What do you got to lose, Mike?
$28-0 deficit. Heavy underdog. Might as well see what you got here. 4th down. They have in the second quarter moved the ball better relative to the first. Still assuredly not to their liking, but here they go. The pressure comes and the ball is dropped. A turnover on downs rather than what might have been an interception for the linebacker Nathaniel Watson. Just 2.5 minutes away from the halftime break, and you can watch the live performance of Mississippi State's famous Maroon Band on the SEC Network Plus. You can start streaming that now on the ESPN app. Well, Dustin, a 21-point first quarter, 7-point second quarter, but just 52 yards to go, 2.5 minutes. That's nothing for this offense.
No, they score in a hurry, and I would not be surprised if this isn't 35-0 in halftime.
And Rodgers taking a shot in the middle of the coverage, incomplete. So delicately placed there, trying to drop it in, and for Harvey, Corey Raymond on top of him in coverage, incomplete, 2nd and 10.
We had a great chat with Corey Raymond this week, Mike. The safety who comes over top to nearly intercept that pass. And look at the note card that Leach has. He just kind of hides it in his pocket. He gets it out when necessary. he's got this offense down to a T, and the players just execute.
In between three defenders, that pass is complete. Akai Polk, first-year transfer from Cal, who was originally recruited by Leach to play at Washington State.
It's like his shopping list, Mike.
Strawberries, whole wheat bread.
And by the way, what would be on that
almond milk.
The Mike Leach shopping list?
Well, we already know what kind of Halloween candy.
Not candy corn.
Big running room for Dylan Johnson to the 30. He picks up 14, 1:48 before the break, and the Bulldogs are going to get the ball to start the third quarter as well. Two-back look on this drive. Could it be number 3 of the day? Indeed it is. Austin Williams from 30 yards out. What a first half for the redshirt senior. The first-team academic All-American having a first-team All-SEC first 2 quarters today.
I was going to say, Mike, he may be one of the smartest players on the field. 4-time SEC academic All-American as well. And he knows where to be. And Will Rogers also knows where he needs to be. And that's down the seam. Between two defenders, he breaks the tackle of Raymond, and then Raymond just kind of knocks off Garlington, who had a chance to make the tackle right there, and the hat trick.
There are just more and more records that are going to drop. Dustin, this is, I think, a question that some might have. I certainly do, is the yards after catch. What sets a team up to be able to have so many yards after the catch? Because like you pointed out, the passes are not necessarily these long downfield heaves.
Well, I think, number one, you've got to have the right personnel. And what I mean by that is you got to have guys who are shifty, who can run good routes, but can also then break tackles and have great agility after they catch the football. And then the second part to it, Mike, is the other wide receivers have to block down the field. They have to be good blockers and good teammates to help their buddies out, because once that first tackle's missed, the other defenders are going to try to come in and stop you. And they do a great job of blocking down the field. That's one of the great things, or one of the things you have to be great at, if you want to play in a Mike Leach offense.
So there has to be a lot of buy-in.
Got to be unselfish, no doubt.
Minute 16 before halftime. And it has been all Shael Garnett at quarterback in the first half. This could end up being quite a day for the Bulldogs.
It already has been.
As it's all said and done, under Mike Leach, their largest margin of victory, 39 points, which was earlier this year against Vanderbilt. And they'll have at least, if the defense continues to play as well as it has, a 35-point cushion going into the half. Well, in the first half, the numbers right now for Tennessee State, 38 yards, 5 first downs. That was the same number of first downs allowed against Vanderbilt. And they picked up 6 yards on first down.
Mike, you think we'll see much more of Will Rogers throughout the game? I think at another score. I can't imagine they leave him in there with the Egg Bowl coming up here on Thursday. On a short week, by the way.
There's a case to be made on both sides, but certainly would be prudent to have your starter be as well rested as possible. Given the way this has gone through 30 minutes. Will Rogers in the first half, 260 yards, 4 touchdowns, and now in a single season, no one has thrown more touchdowns or thrown for more yards in the Bulldogs program than Will Rogers. Stay tuned for the SEC Network halftime report right after this timeout. 35-0 Bulldogs at the half. Mississippi State through 30 minutes and in their penultimate game of the regular season, a 35-0 advantage. Welcome back here to Starkville. Mike Cousins and Dustin Fox. Thanks so much for being with us today. Hard to ask for much more in the first half. The offense slowed down in the second quarter after they scored 21 points in the first.
Yeah, they were impressive. We sort of expected this to happen. 35-0. Will Rogers, nothing short of magnificent in this first half. 4 touchdown passes. And really the defense of Mississippi State was terrific, too. They held Tennessee State to just 44 yards of offense. As we take a look at these touchdown passes in the first half, Austin Williams had 3. There's the second one. And, of course, Heath on the outside takes this one all the way to the house. And then Will Rogers comes right back with another one to Austin Williams.
And the best part for Rogers is that when he dropped back, you could see the bodily progression as he went from option 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 because of how much time the offensive line provided for him there.
That's what they do in this offense, though, Mike. I mean, to be able to go through the progressions, as you mentioned, 1 through 5, and they've got sometimes 6 options with the running back in there as well. That's what he does. And against an FCS opponent, their offensive line held up really well today. And our production crew, as I mentioned earlier, just keep updating this baby all day long because he's just going to break record after record.
He came in with 29 passing touchdowns on the year. That was tied with Dak Prescott for the most in a single season. So that number has already been eclipsed. He did that on the first drive. And then on the second drive, he came into the game needing just about 72 yards to jump over the all-time single season mark. What's really scary is that with about 4,000 more yards passing for the course of his career, which he's got several years of eligibility left, he could overtake Prescott as well for the all-time mark in a career also.
He could be, at the end of this, when it's all said and done, the most prolific quarterback really to ever play for Coach Leach when you think about it. And he's had some really great quarterbacks at Tech and, of course, at Washington State, Gardner Minshew. The list goes on and on and on. And this guy's got so much time and so much promise to really become a good one.
And the question that you posed, I think, still remains relevant as we go into the third quarter. How much more time does he see in this game, knowing that you've got another game and one of the the year coming up on Thursday?
I'd probably let him go about this quarter. I wouldn't play him in the fourth. Maybe pad the stats a little bit here in the third quarter and then get him out of the game. What do you think?
Whether we as humans would admit to that being true or not, we all love to see the numbers go up.
Sure.
Mike Leach has not been one to be concerned with outside expectations or criticisms. But
and I don't think Mike Leach cares all that much about like records and numbers, but I think he does care about timing and rhythm and making sure that his guy, Will Rogers, is prepared and plays enough football in this game going into the Egg Bowl on Thursday that he feels he's ready to go.
The Bulldogs won the opening coin toss. They deferred, which gave the ball to Tennessee State first. So now, already working with the 35-point advantage, it's Bulldogs football to start the third. Return for Marks begins from inside the 5-yard line and stops across the 30. 295 yards of total offense in the first half for Mississippi State, as they had 6 plays that went for more than 15 yards.
A lot of that, Mike, is those yards after the catch. When you watch this offense, most of their routes, Mike, are 5 to 7 yards. They're quick throws, and the wide receivers do a great job of breaking tackles and getting that yak.
It's a long out route. Finds Makai Polk. 13-yard pickup, and he's got the most catches in the SEC. He's added to that number today. It started the afternoon just 9 catches off of Fred Ross' single-season record of 88 catches set back in 2015.
He'll catch Prescott. He'll catch him.
He could do it in the second half. It's just a matter of how much time he sees on the field. And in an offense that distributes the ball as well as this one does, it's a very egalitarian one with the number of players who can be involved on a given day. And they are short on offense today. A couple players we were told not going to take the field. Christian Ford, Laditra Griffin, and Ra Thomas combined for about 60 catches this season. One way to run there for Marks.
Good hit there from Tennessee State. The number 8, James Green, the outside linebacker. Tackled by Green. Take a look at this hit. Watch it. Just does a good job setting the edge. Comes up. Makes a great tackle there for the Tigers. Green, of course, is a preseason All-Ohio Valley Conference linebacker, having himself a good year. 69 tackles coming into this game.
Needing some blocking on the outside. Eddie Graham breaks through to tackle Polk and brings up a 4th down.
Are we going to see a punt? Will Rogers says, I want to go for it.
Doesn't look like it.
When you're averaging, what are they averaging, about 13 yards a play, Mike? Something like that? It's 4th and 5. I'm going to go for it. Averaging 10 yards a play, excuse me, a first down of every snap.
Short of the sticks on the completion to Jameer Calvin. He's knocked down a yard short by James Green. And a turnover on downs forced by Tennessee State.
And there you see Eddie George on the sidelines, and that's something positive. You can build upon that. That's a great stop by the Tigers after really the first half. The Bulldogs went up and down the field at will. There you see James Green getting excited about making that play. Got to be careful about standing over top of a receiver. You don't want to get penalized for that, but it's a big stop. Maybe something to build on here. You've got to do. Listen, if you're Tennessee State, you have to have small goals. And the goal here, frankly, would be try to win the second half. 35-0. Try to get some points on the board. It's the last game of the season for the Tigers.
Shael Garnett, the former Auburn Tiger, we saw all of the first half, stays at quarterback, and his handoff to Starling, who was questionable coming into this game with a shoulder injury. Ends with nothing on the tackle by Banks and Johnson. It's an offense that put together just 7 points last week in a 36-7 defeat against Austin Peay. So even 7 today would be a nice step in the right direction. Four-man rush gets there and forces the high throw.
Tennessee State has been in 3rd and long all day. And this is a situation where Bulldogs defense are probably going to bring pressure like they've been doing all afternoon. Just sort of creating havoc for Garnett in the backfield. Tyler Speed not in the game. He's been the one that's been coming on pressure. But here comes Jet Johnson.
The screen is there. A one-handed catch for Starling. He rumbles forward between the 48 and 49-yard lines. And the punt team makes its way out.
I like the call. You set up the screen perfectly. Jet Johnson, 44, comes off the right side. And then you bring in Starling right behind him. Problem is the pursuit just too fast. The speed of the Bulldogs defense is going to track Starling down for just a minimal gain.
So Austin Williams, he of the 3 touchdown catches in the first half. Ready to receive the boot from Mosley, junior who's been the starter at punter for the duration of his Tennessee State career. Williams lets it go and then scoops it inside the 10-yard line with a triumvirate of defenders waiting to knock him horizontal. When you put a Gamecock and a former Lady Vol together, you get Out of Pocket. Alyssa Lang and Andrea Carter every Wednesday. Laid back interviews, lots of laughs, and Alyssa's signature passion for finding the best food the SEC has to offer. This week's 1-hour show is back at 7 Eastern, 6 Central on the SEC Network and the ESPN app. Did we see Cole Kublik on SEC Nation this morning? Was he
our good buddy.
Wolfing down pancakes?
He had a lot of pancakes, and yes, he was wolfing them down as they try to wolf down these wide receivers who are running wide open. So I'm going to give Will Rogers another series. I honestly think they want to get another touchdown drive on the board, Mike, before they bring him out. I don't think we'll see him in the fourth quarter at all. But they would like to probably see this scoreboard look like 42-0.
A lot of extra effort on that run by Johnson. The ball come out? Ball loose at the end of that play, but he is whistled down. Let's take a look.
Well, they said the progress was stopped, so the whistle blew. It was close. It wasn't down. It's the one miss of the day for Rogers. That's a bad miss. Trying to get Williams on the outside, Mike, and just sort of airmails that one. Had him wide open.
23 and 28 for 291 yards. So on this drive, he could go 300-plus yards for the 9th straight game. Completion percentage today, 82%.
Above his season average.
76%.
Yeah, 76.
82% is just otherworldly good.
Stupid good.
And he's got Williams wide open across the middle. First down into Tennessee State territory. So a pick up a 19. And that makes it 9 straight games with at least 300 passing yards for Will Rogers.
Raven on the tackle. First down.
This has been a 7-on-7 kind of game, pretty much, for Rogers.
Look at the offensive line, Mike.
Anything he wants, wherever he wants it, including right down the middle for another touchdown. Makai Polk for 6.
Makai Polk, who had 2 touchdown receptions last week against Auburn in that great comeback. We talked about the transfer from Washington State. arguably the best wide receiver of the group, finds himself in the end zone. This one's going to go for 50. Beautifully thrown football, touch on it. He beats number 6 for 6, 42-0 State.
A 50-yard touchdown connection from Will Rogers to Makai Polk makes it 42-0 Mississippi State. They head on to their advantage. And Rogers, well, it may be Chance Lovertich time after this. Almost midway through the third quarter. Taking on this Tennessee State squad at 5-5. Ohio Valley squad. This is the second to last game of the regular season for Mississippi State. And bowl Thursday, bowl eligible as well for the 12th straight year. And the final game of the season for the Tigers from Nashville. Mike Cousins, Dustin Fox along with you. Short kick. Taking just past the 10. And out to the 27-yard line. So Makai Polk made that grab. And that was the biggest catch of his day. To help Will Rogers now have 9 games of 300 or more yards. You have Tim Couch in there as well. If you go just in the college football playoff era, there have been 3 Leach quarterbacks and Joe Burrow to do it. And Makai Polk now 9 catches, 9 catches today, 88 on the year, ties Fred Ross with a single season school record for reception. So at least 3 records have been shattered today for Mississippi State. First time today, it's a snap for Devion Bryant, the redshirt sophomore quarterback who played last week against Austin Peay, as did Shael Garnett, who's taken every snap thus far. And a changeup here for the Tigers in the third quarter.
Well, let's see if Bryant can give him a little bit of a spark. Not great numbers on the season, obviously, there, as he hasn't played that much.
No, last week against Austin Peay, he went 2 for 9 in passing as they lost 36-7. He hands it off for a first down, but as he came into the game last week, that was the first time he had thrown a pass since September, because if you're joining us late, the starting quarterback for the majority of the year, Jeremy Hickbottom, was injured last week, a back injury. And so that's why we're seeing a rotation of quarterbacks today.
Might even see Edwin Rhodes, Mike, the freshman.
First year out of Miami, who has not seen any game action this year. And you understand now, after that short completion to Rodell Rockman, why even though Garnett was 10 of 16, only 42 yards, that's because of the closing speed of the Bulldogs defense.
Yeah, they're just too fast. They do a great job running sideline to sideline. And
Right in 85, Rahman on the reception.
hopefully Rahman's okay.
Rockman, the transfer from Bowling Green. We talked to him this week about coming here to an SEC stadium, and he said the only real comparison for him was that when the Falcons at Bowling Green last year visited Notre Dame, that was kind of the similar experience, except he was only on special teams, and here he's a regular
starter,
every snap player.
6 touchdowns on the year. Trying to get him involved in the offense, it's just not quite the day for that.
Athletic training staff looking at his left leg. That was what he was holding as they came over to take a look at him, the senior out of Columbus, Ohio.
Said he grew up watching Ohio State, being a native of Columbus, and knew all about Eddie George. His father was a huge Eddie fan.
One of those names that you just have to know. Archie Griffin, Eddie George is a Buckeyes fan, the 1995 Heisman Trophy winner, and then went on to a fantastic career in the NFL, 9 seasons. The Titans, 96 to 2003. Finished out his career with the Cowboys, started all but 5 games, and then made his way to Broadway as lawyer Billy Flynn. And took this job April 23rd of this year. And a rousing cowbell chorus for Rahman, who is loaded onto the cart as he's going to get taken off here. Billy Flynn, by the way, in the musical Chicago, it's a singing role.
I've never seen Chicago.
You should. I want to say maybe the longest running show that was on Broadway.
On Broadway, yeah.
I don't know if Cats and Rent fit into that race though.
You're into the music and the arts.
Well, Billy Flynn in the show has a song, Razzle Dazzle and it's theatrical, it's the jazz hands.
Can you sing a little more for me, please?
That's the only lyrics I know, unfortunately.
Oh, come on. That was good.
Or perhaps there are some begging for mercy. There are no more. There are no more words to be sung. Daron Johnson picks up a block and skips through for a first down. So that's stage
Razzle,
right.
dazzle.
Yeah, that's it. You got it. Nailed it. You're up on Broadway next.
Good play here on the outside, just getting the football on the perimeter. Daron Johnson shows off a little speed and just enough for the first down. Wake up!
A nap in the sun on a Saturday, it's not the worst place in the world to be. Although I find it hard to sleep with cowbells ringing all around.
Good point.
It's a catch for Cam Weish, a junior out of Douglasville, Georgia. We talked earlier about Eddie George saying, as an actor, he experienced more stage fright than he ever did playing in Big Ten football or in the NFL. Did you ever feel that, or does everything just kind of melt away when you're out there?
I never felt it. I agree with Eddie. When you're out there, you've got a helmet on. You kind of can hide. You've got your teammates. Even though it's 100,000 fans plus and people watching on television, you didn't feel like your failures could be seen. I'm more nervous on camera doing TV than I was playing football. Heck, I'm more nervous on the golf course teeing off in front of strangers than I was on the football field, Mike.
Well, if you're a bad golfer, that can be devastating.
There's nothing worse.
Because you think you're going to miss.
There's nothing worse. You go out to golf with your buddies, right? It's you and like your best friend, and it's a twosome, and the ranger puts you with another twosome you don't know, and you got to tee off. You're like shaking in your boots, like I would be right now if I was Tennessee State on this third down.
Your shot from the tee box ended up just on the tee box in front of you. Just topped off the ball. 3rd and 7. An opportunity to run for Bryant. There's a flag. Where that flag ended up, a likely holding call is coming.
Holding. Offense number 62. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Remains third down.
That goes on Shazon Page, one of 3 freshmen along the offensive line. This team absolutely has a strong foundation to build on, and going forward into his first offseason, one of the things that George has said, which is true for every coach, is to bolster your recruiting. This will be the first time that he's really going out in an offseason as a recruiter, and to be able to try and centralize a lot of their operations on campus so that all departments of the football team are located a lot closer to each other, make things more efficient. After the 10-yard penalty, Bryant dishes it off, and they're right back to near the original line of scrimmage as they will punt on 4th down.
Well, I sort of like the spark that Bryant gave him there. Moved the football, couple first downs. Still would be on the field if it weren't for the holding call.
punters along the sideline. They've got just 13 seconds on the play clock.
They're going to punt.
They're going to have to expedite this snap, though, unless they face a delay of game penalty. Well, they do get it off. And a catch at the 15-yard line for Williams. 36-yard punt, 42-0, Mississippi State.
Egbo, very, very big. I had several guys. Hey, it's Egbo week. Yeah, it's Mississippi State.
There's the kick. It's time. It is number. If you want it, go get it.
This is bigger than all of those rivalries. It is neighbor against neighbor. I think everybody in this state takes this game extremely seriously.
And a short week leading up until Thursday here in Starkville, Mississippi State and Ole Miss. This has been the type of offensive performance that the Bulldogs would love to repeat again next week. Complete pass looking for Jameer Calvin down the sideline. Bulldogs have won 3 out of the last 5 in that rivalry against Ole Miss. But last year, a 3-point win in Oxford in Kiffin-Leach round 1.
Can't wait. Cannot wait for that game on Thursday night.
We'll be, like many, at home testing the limits of the elastic waistbands of our sweatpants as we watch that game. Nice room to run for 9 there. Marks. Corey Raymond makes the tackle there. And Brandon Fisher, the son of former NFL head coach Jeff Fisher, their defensive coordinator, said he would be surprised if his safety didn't end up in an NFL camp somewhere.
He's a good player. Played at small school prior to coming to Tennessee State.
At Southeastern University, an NAIA school in Florida, where on that staff now, Fisher has Richard McNutt, your former teammate, as one of his coaches, helped bring Rahman and Eddie Graham, the cornerback, to Tennessee State. Fisher's another guy on this staff who comes in with a significant amount of NFL experience.
They say that the former head coach, Jeff Fisher, travels with them on every game. He's on a headset, listens to what the calls are, and then provides some consulting during the week.
As it was put to us, Ducking has the catch. Fisher now he's a dedicated grandfather, loves football, loves to travel, and
he loves Eddie George.
Yeah, and for George, who he drafted back in '96, you know, talk about opportunity coming into your lap when you already live in the town where the head coaching job is open. That's a pretty good situation.
Jeff Fisher's living the life right now. You follow him on social media. He does a lot of fishing, spends a lot of time with his family, and certainly can't get enough football. Loves to be around the game.
Weaving through defenders, Jaden Wally is finally driven out right near the first down marker.
Close to a late hit there, out of bounds. Fans wanted it. Not going to get it. There's an injured Tennessee State defender down. Watch him just weave through the traffic. It's Raymond who gets the... and James Green who makes the final tackle there out of bounds.
Player is Davion Hawkins, the defensive end for the Tigers, a former Kentucky Wildcat. But when a rivalry has endured as long as this one has, it means so much. Played on Thanksgiving last year, a 24-21 game, the first between Leach and Kiffin. And as we saw going back to game day last week, the mutual admiration society between those two coaches. It's hard to find two coaches who are more gregarious and greater quotes than those two. How about that right there? A perfect encapsulation and preview.
There you go.
For next week.
Perfect.
Existing in harmony, side by side. Ole Miss and Mississippi State fans.
And Chase Lovertich is going to come in at quarterback. Will Rogers may be done for the day, Mike.
Lovertich, who's played at Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College last year at South Alabama. Saw time in their blowout win against Vanderbilt. And with the score as lopsided as it is, hands it off for Dylan Johnson. One snap, one touchdown. It's 48-0 after a 32-yard touchdown run.
They're buddies?
I hope so. Otherwise, that's an awkward seating chart.
Just randomly sitting next to an Ole Miss fan and State fan.
That's usually where I get put at the weddings, at the leftover table. You're like, how did I end up with these people?
The look off the right side, this hole. And then the cutback by Dylan Johnson. Untouched to the end zone. Give some love to Quatravius Johnson, Quentin Sharp, Scott Lashley and company. There's Charles Cross coming in, celebrating with his teammate, the left tackle. It tells you how much or how little they run the football this season. That was the longest rush of the year.
And it's kind of funny to look back for Johnson last week against Auburn. He ran for a career-high 62 yards and rips off that run right there. More than half of what he did a week ago in an entire game.
Yeah, both him and Marks are really good backs. They do everything right. They're unselfish because they're both excellent pass protectors. And they know they're going to get their touches. Just so happens that a lot of the touches come in the pass game. And, Mike, they even do a lot of these, like, toss plays, but the tosses are forward, so they count as passes, so those count as receptions for those guys.
Dustin, I'm going to want your take on something, which is one of the games we've got coming up next.
I'm here for takes.
Florida and Missouri, 4 Eastern SEC Network. Vanderbilt and Ole Miss, 7:30 Eastern. You and I bore witness on television last week to Samford in Florida. What would you like to see the Gators do better this week? Among the many things, what should be tops on their list?
Tackle?
Keeping it simple there.
Yeah, tackle somebody. As a former defender, it was tough to watch that game because it was just sort of lack of effort by the defense. Their offense is not a problem. I mean, they went up and down the field, and Emory Jones is a good quarterback.
Yeah, Florida last week scored about as easily as Ole Miss as Mississippi State has scored today.
I sort of thought that game going into it. I knew that Samford could score some points, but I didn't think they put up 42 at halftime in that game,
which was unfathomable.
Yeah,
with the disparity between those two teams,
no doubt.
So that's a game. Florida, Missouri, up next on the SEC Network with both teams looking to hit bowl eligibility here in the second to last week of the regular season. Justin, I was looking back here as Rogers will be done for the day in all likelihood now that we've seen Chance Lovertich come in. Your 2002 season, that was your senior year?
No, sophomore year.
Sophomore year. Beg your pardon. So you guys played.
I thought you knew my bio, Mike. That makes me sad.
I have only so much capacity for random facts, and I've used the rest of it on street suffixes. What comes after drive, avenue, and court. But you played in games like this.
Yeah.
Ohio State, you would play against Akron or Kent State or whomever it was. Did you go into that game thinking like, yeah, we're absolutely going to win?
Pretty much. I mean, you have to be honest with yourself. You know you've got better athletes and better players. So you never took your opponent lightly, but you had the expectation to go into these games and take care of business. And that's exactly what Mississippi State's doing today.
Got it, perhaps the final snap of the quarter. Mitchell takes it. It was 21 points in the first quarter for the Bulldogs, 14 in the second, and 14 more in the third. And as we go into the final stanza of the afternoon, imagine we'll see a lot more new faces who weren't on the field in the first three quarters. Comes to producing talent at the next level, Tennessee State stands above the rest from HBCU schools, 121. Their head coach, Eddie George, in his first year, former Heisman Trophy winner who played at Ohio State. And as we go to the fourth quarter, 49-0. Mississippi State with the lead and a third down and 6. For the Tigers offense, they convert. Cam Weiss with a catch. He's got to race to the corner inside the 10 and out of bounds. First and goal, Tennessee State. A huge pickup. Puts them over 100 yards on the day. 56 yards on the catch.
That's a great throw by Bryant, and you can see that Weiss has some speed now because he outruns a couple defenders here for State, and they're lucky to get him out of bounds at the 3-yard line.
Looking to get a push, and the ball comes loose. Just when things were looking up, it turns the Bulldogs' way. Jet Johnson scoops up the ball. Wow.
The quarterback sneak call from the 3. And the ball it's definitely out. Jet Johnson's right there. Luckily, Josh Trueheart makes the tackle. Otherwise, Jet Johnson would have been going the other direction for a touchdown.
You're asking a lot for the offensive line to provide 3 yards of push there with the quarterback trying to work behind them. So tough break there. That was the best opportunity to get points on the board this afternoon for the Tigers. And the ball to 20 for Mississippi State. Fastball to the edge from Levertich, who's only thrown 6 passes this year. 5 of 6 for 77 yards coming in.
Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. We did a South Alabama game last year. That's why this name sounds familiar.
Against Tulane.
That's right, early in the season.
Yeah, Levertich in 2018 and 2019 was at Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. He and Will Rogers from Brandon, Mississippi. Those two are roommates. Add in a third in Austin Williams, and you've got quite a talented house there. That's knocked down at the line of scrimmage. So Levertich, big fan of this program. His grandfather, Doug Hutton, played basketball, baseball, ran track for the Bulldogs.
In the 60s, right?
Might be where their score is headed as well. As they are exceeding their season averages in every way they'd like to see. And it's what you'd expect from an SEC opponent. As the ball is loose again for the second time in a handful of snaps. And Tennessee State has it back.
Well, there's a big hit at the end of this run. James James Green. I believe James Green's the one that's going to come up with the football. Excuse me, James Green had the hit.
Well, they've got the ball inside the 30. An opportunity to score beckons once more. Pondering the deep questions of life, when does a hat evolve into a sombrero?
I think
level of sun coverage provided.
I was going to say the coverage has a big part to do with it.
Consult your local hatter for more information.
I think the flip on the edges helps too with the sombrero. But the coverage is a big part of it.
Well, unfortunately, there's simply no way to know.
Not much coverage from Tennessee State today.
But they did force a fumble and get the ball back here, down 49-zip. In the opening moments of the fourth quarter, they had first and goal earlier, trying to QB sneak, fumbled it away. Zaire Thornton, the freshman out of Atlanta, pickup of 8 yards on the first down throw by Bryant, who's come in here in the second half at quarterback, replacing Shael Garnett. Their starter, Jeremy Hickbottom, injured last week and unavailable to play today.
Yeah, this had some heat on it now. This is a good throw by Bryant.
Doesn't gain any yards as 9 defenders converge on the play.
Yeah, pretty much every Bulldog defender was in on that tackle.
Well, for reference, Zach Arnett's defense allowed 5 first downs against Vanderbilt. They've yielded 10 today against Tennessee State. Don't expect a smile anytime soon. They work on third down in need of a yard. They go backwards. A surging effort from Deshaun Page in the linebacker spot.
Hey, you got to go for this.
4th and 6. What do they got here?
Well, they better have an 8-yard play.
Or a 7-yard play.
Well, yeah. I thought it was 4th and 7.
We appreciate your candor, your honesty.
Yeah. Well,
not so much your math skills, but nobody's perfect. And they take a timeout here on 4th and 6. 11:25 to go. Back-to-back nail-biting drives by Eddie Georgia's squad. For the Tigers in the NFL, Joe Gilliam, the first black quarterback to start an opening day game in the NFL. That was in 1974. Ed Too Tall Jones, first overall pick in 74 to the Cowboys, won the Super Bowl with Dallas. As we return to Starkville, James Lowry, who's 1 for 1 this year on field goal tries from just 26 yards, is coming on here to try it from 43. Got it. They say he's got a strong leg, and he's got the first points of the day for Tennessee State. They were lined up to go for it on 4th and 6, called timeout, and that helped yield them 3 points.
I think that fan in the crowd, I don't know if he's related to Lowry or what, but he was pretty pumped about the kick. And gets the goose egg off the board.
A big effervescent smile from head coach Eddie George. 3 feels monumentally different than 0 at the end of the day.
Nonetheless, I mean, you had it first and goal at the 3. I still can't wrap my head around the idea to go quarterback sneak from the 3. Against that interior front, you haven't been able to get any push all day. The way Brian, I've given him at least a couple chances to the end zone.
How juiced does Lowry have to be right now? He just hit a field goal in an SEC stadium, and now gets to go back for the kickoff. Yeah. He's loving it.
Fired up, man. Good for him. That jump had a little extra juice in it, didn't it?
I bet you he's dunking with that height. 5'10", 225.
With the 40-inch vertical.
Ready to put it off the tee. Yards on the return for the Bulldogs. And another look at some of the greats who have come through the Tennessee State program into the NFL. Richard Dent, a 2-time Super Bowl champ with Chicago and San Francisco, put into the Hall of Fame in 2011, and Claude Humphrey, the 2014 NFL Hall of Fame inductee. So an exceptionally storied program. 49-3 here. Coming in, of course, as the heavy underdogs. And that's one of the hardest collisions of the day from perhaps a future pro in the secondary.
The intended receiver was Brody Key.
And another injured Tennessee State player. Oh my goodness.
It's a clean hit, though, from Raymond.
James Green, the linebacker, and the injured defender. Left side of your screen there. Rufus Harvey throwing that block for the Bulldogs.
The injured Tiger is the linebacker, number 8, James Green. Second down and 10.
Second and 10. Lovertich zips it to Jernigan. Third down and 3 coming up after the catch for the junior running back, who has only had 12 touches coming into this game. 2 carries and 10 catches. They use him a lot in those 2-back sets. And huge week for him, right? He got put on scholarship on Tuesday.
It was a walk-on. That's a good point, Mike. Big week.
Second player this year, along with the wide receiver Christian Ford, in the Mississippi State program to go from walk-on to scholarship player. It's a scramble by Lovertich, and the initial spot has him a half yard short of the first down.
Mike Leach has it in his DNA to punt at the 40-yard line, even if it's fourth and a yard or less.
Nope, and they've got the first down. Jernigan moves it. Well, Mike Leach, he's got the hoodie that says State across the front.
How about the question we asked him on the call this week about wardrobe?
Well, it was an absolutely absurd hypothetical from us, but these are just the conversations you and I have off the air that then become fodder for on-air conversation in 46-point games. A long ball over the middle, incomplete. that if we were to wear the exact same suit, tie, and shirt combination the entire year, how long would it take for anyone to notice?
I said no one would notice.
Probably not. So for Coach Leach, we said if you wore the same outfit on the sideline the entire year, do you think anyone would notice? And probably not, right? But you're in the SEC. You got a lot of scrutiny. Someone's probably going to notice that, right? But he said on his staff, he goes, you know what? I've got a couple guys, and we will let them remain anonymous for fear of public scrutiny.
On the left side there.
He said he's got a couple guys on his staff who he thinks wear the same thing every day.
Offense, number 66. 5-yard penalty. Remains second down.
I think it's a little easier, though, when you're a coach and you're wearing team-issued gear like every day. Like, who's going to really notice? And is it really the same exact sweatshirt these guys wear every day, or do they have multiple, like, duplicates?
I suppose it depends what your level of friendship is with the people in the equipment room, how willing they are to give you more stuff. Long completion as Lovertich lets it fly, a gain of 23 yards.
Carson Banks.
Yeah.
Banks does a good job here with the yards after the catch, makes the defender miss. That's Garlington picking up the first down.
Jernigan slipping through defenders, another first down as they continue their march. There is a flag down, though.
I think it's an illegal lineman downfield.
Behind the line of scrimmage, back at the 37.
I thought there was a lineman down the field, unless
There is no foul for an eligible player downfield. The forward pass was caught behind the line of scrimmage.
Thank you for the explanation.
It's Lovertich from the 23. Incomplete pass. But I think, Dustin, to finish off our conversation about wardrobe choices. If you've ever been on a college campus, you can pretty easily spot the athletes sometimes because team-issued gear. They're wearing the team-issued gear, the same stuff that everybody else is wearing.
Yeah.
If you're a coach.
Or Letterman coat.
We're not living in an Archie comic, but yeah.
I used to wear my Letterman jacket all the time on campus. Come on.
2nd and 10. Lovertich, crossing route. Gets about 6 yards there. Rufus Harvey. But really the issue is just simplicity, right? You throw on some sweats or whatever, a sweatshirt, because you want to focus on other things. You have bigger goals in life.
Who wouldn't love to just wear sweats every single day to work? Let's check out Eddie's gear.
Quarter zip?
Quarter zip.
Joggers?
Joggers, yeah.
Sneaks?
Good sneaks. Under Armour.
Visor?
Good gear. He's a visor guy. Who would have thought Eddie'd be a visor guy?
Well, the last time I asked the coach about his visor, he wasn't employed the next week.
Yikes.
Gary Patterson.
Yeah. You're a jinx.
But you know what? Comfort over formality, right? Even college basketball coaches, last year they stopped wearing suits,
sneakers, sweats,
quarter zips, polos. Love it. Lovertich trying to escape, and he gets corralled, sneaking through the middle. They went on 4th and 1 earlier on the drive. Tackle there by Chris Walker makes it 4th and 2.
They just go for it. Although they may want to give their kicker a little test here.
Just see how things are going to go.
Yeah, Nolan McCord's going to get the opportunity. As
life's not going to be as easy next week.
Breeze is out. Well, they had a tryout on campus with what, 40-some folks that showed up.
That was what Coach Leach said. He said, if there's a walk-on kicker who's better than the guys we have on scholarship, that's the guy who's going to kick.
Yeah.
So McCord, who's 5 of 10 this year, is now 6 of 11. And that's the largest and loudest cheer of the second half. These fans know how difficult field goal kicking's been this year. It's 52-3. 7 minutes, 9 seconds away from Mississippi State's 7th victory of the season, preceding Thanksgiving Day's Egg Bowl here at Starkville against Ole Miss, along with Dustin Fox, the former Ohio State and NFL defensive back. I'm Mike Cousins. Nolan McCord just made a field goal, his 6th in 11 tries this year. And the kickoff from Scott Goodman, deemed returnable. Here comes Dayron Johnson, all the way out to the 30-yard line.
Good return.
All right, Dustin, college football playoff top 10. And not everybody facing conference competition this week. Number 1, Georgia, with a healthy lead over Charleston Southern. But how about Ohio State, Michigan State? The news was all positive for Mel Tucker this week until today.
Go right to the number 4 Buckeyes, putting on a clinic in Columbus. C.J. Stroud, 6 touchdown passes, 400 yards. Mike, that was just in the first half.
That's a good way to bolster your Heisman resume, right?
You think? Already became the favorite last week to win the award, so we'll see what happens after this game.
Bryant evades the rush and throws just short of midfield. You know, you mentioned it, Dustin. Thornton makes that grab. He provides seemingly a little bit more than elusive presence than Garnett did, who started the game at quarterback, the ability to extend plays even if he's not running.
Yeah, and again, this is just based off of this game alone. It appears Bryant's got the better arm. He's got more zip on the football, and he's been a little bit more accurate. He can do this too.
Well, the Ohio State score today does not bode well for the predictions we were asked to make for the college football playoff with our top 4 teams.
Maybe the committee was right that Michigan is better than Michigan State.
Although I didn't include Ohio State in my top 4. There's still time yet.
The ball carrier.
That's because, like tech startup companies, I'm a disruptor, and I'm trying to shake up the normal order of things in the college football playoff.
Maddie's going to show it here in a minute, and we'll have some fun because I know exactly what you did.
If you like Grader's ice cream, or if you like Skyline chili, if you know who Marty Brenneman is, then you'll like where I slotted everybody.
How about Dan Horde?
That's right, one of the greats, the voice of the Cincinnati Bearcats on the radio. Another big chunk.
And the Bengals.
That's right. He's a busy guy on the weekends. 20 yards to Weiss. So you put the Buckeyes in your top 4. I left them out and put Cincinnati in the top 4.
How do you feel about that pick after today?
Well, we've got to see how all the games shake out today, right? There's always another hedge I can make to make my rankings look good. But as we saw from the chair of the committee last week, that Gary Barta said, you know what, the games matter, but when you look at all of the numbers,
the metrics,
you look at all the numbers, that's why they had their rankings as they were. And I like Cincinnati, but you know what, it's for me, honestly, you know, I did this just to poke fun at you, to take Ohio State out of it. I'm just the one who says, of course, in favor of expansion, but if you're a team that has the stars aligned where you play and beat a Big Ten team, you play and beat Notre Dame, and you continue to stay undefeated, granted not the same strength of schedule, let's see what happens. And I look at it when flag down. That looks like it'll go against the Bulldogs. You look at what the scores have been in the college football playoff semifinals. It's not like you're looking at a ton of one-score or one-possession games.
Blowouts.
They're blowouts. So if the argument is don't put Cincinnati in because they're going to get blown out, what's any different than what we've already seen?
Defense, number 42. 15-yard penalty, first down.
Well, and to be fair, the Bearcats did face the Georgia Bulldogs in the bowl game last year and played with them. I mean, it was a one-score game, had a chance to win it, and people are going to say, well, did Georgia play everybody? They played a lot of their dudes, and the Bearcats played right with them, and they're a better team this year than they were last year. But they're not better than Ohio State right now. Sorry.
Raspberry chip ice cream, by the way, from Graders. Cincinnati, one of the notable.
Did it start in Cincinnati? Because I always thought it started in Columbus.
There's no way to know. Unfortunately, you'll have to take my word for it.
Okay.
Can't find that information anywhere. First and 10. And inside the 10 for Bryant. So they've been here before. They got first and goal earlier from the 3. Offensive coordinator Hugh Jackson called for a quarterback sneak for Bryant. It was a fumble recovered by the Bulldogs.
Didn't love that call.
And now they have the
like
ball.
Many calls in Cleveland.
Sitting on the 7.
I'm kidding. I'm not bitter.
Bryant's got it, and he's got time. He is upended and lassoed down at the 5-yard line.
There is just nowhere to go for Bryant.
Zach Arnett's defense looking to measure this day by whether they can keep the Tigers out of the end zone. They've got 2 more stops to get. Bryant hands it off, and that's a touchdown for Tennessee State. Mitchell with some help, cashes through the defense, and puts 6 on the board for the first time today for the Tigers. And once again, unfortunately, more times than they'd like, see one of their teammates injured. Jimmy Nixon is the injured offensive lineman.
Well, that's what you would have liked to see the last time they were down here at the 3-yard line. Hand the football off instead of the quarterback sneak from the 3.
So their celebration is momentarily dulled due to the injury stoppage. But as you said, at the start of the 3rd quarter, when the Bulldogs were up 35-0 for Tennessee State, second half, it was going to be about small goals. First get on the board, and then end up with a touchdown. Lowry's already hit a field goal today, and his extra point try is good as well.
So Tennessee State had a rough day defensively, but a little offense here in the second half. They're on the board, 52-10, late in the 4th.
ability to fall asleep anywhere, would you choose a football stadium?
No, I think I'd choose the grass in Muncie, Indiana with a box of popcorn.
We did see that Wednesday night. I really envy that gentleman's ability to fall asleep on a cement slab.
It's amazing.
Which then feeds into my next question of, was it a late night or an early morning or both? And he's up in section 334, maybe 10 rows shy of the top of Davis Wade Stadium. That's the second napping fan we've seen today. But he's got to wake up because at 4 o'clock, Florida and Missouri are battling bowl eligibility.
He's got to stay up for Vandy Ole Miss at 7:30.
Right. Don't let down. Come on. Don't let down Tom and Cole and Jordan.
Yeah, they got a big game tonight now. So wake up.
Yeah. What are the plans for the rest of the day if you take a nap this early?
I don't know. You and I got to get some dinner.
Is it recharging for the remainder of the day? But I think envy is the prevailing theme there. Well, there may be some more points on the board with that pass to start off this drive. For Wells, who goes for 40.
It's that just safety valve that you use all the time. He's the last option here, and no one takes him. Linebackers are caught up in the wash, and then he nearly takes us all the way to the end zone for a touchdown.
And unfortunately,
Wells with a great run.
There's another injured Tigers player all the way back at the 30-yard line.
They have just it's been the battle of attrition for the Tigers today, Mike.
Over 600 yards of total offense.
All right, so who wins the swag award here between Rodgers and Corral?
The headband is very, is it Nadal-like? Federer?
My hair was very long when I played in college, and I wore one of those as well. I don't know if it's a cool look or not. I think it's a good look on Matt.
Well, he's going to be playing catch-up tonight with Rodgers' 5 touchdown passes today. But they are taking on Vanderbilt in search of their first conference win. So it could be a big day for Corral with both teams careening toward each other in the Egg Bowl coming up in just a couple of days. We're getting ready for round 2 with last year Lane versus Leach. And Ole Miss in 2020 gets out to an early 14-point lead. Matt Corral, Austin Williams cuts the lead to 24-21 Ole Miss. Then they go back up 10, 31-21 on a touchdown run. And they come away the winners in 2020, 31-24. The final score in that matchup. So Rodgers today, a couple of records. Most touchdown passes in a season at Mississippi State, most passing yards in a season as well. And we mentioned this earlier, but he comes in less than 4,000 yards shy of Dak Prescott's career yards total, and that was a lot of rushing yards as well for Dak. A multifaceted talent at quarterback, and with Rodgers having several more years of eligibility, those are numbers that could fall as well. Kendall Johnson is the injured player being assisted off the field by the athletic training staff with Eddie George there out in front, his head coach.
Well, how many Tiger players that have gone down today? It's unfortunate.
Maybe 7 or 8 times there's been an injury stoppage for Tennessee State players. This is the final game of their season. Still with a week to go in the regular season for the Bulldogs.
game of the year for the Bulldogs.
And then the postseason looms. It's been Lovertich at quarterback down the stretch.
Knee was down.
And a knee down on the catch. So that's where that play ends.
No game.
Redshirt junior Brody King.
Yeah, his knee was down.
He got hit late on that play too as well by Green.
Green's been all over the field today. Looking linebacker.
Back to King. Now a minute and 35 seconds to play. The Bulldogs still very much trying to tack on to their total. Biggest win this year, 39-point victory against Vanderbilt. Right now the margin is 42. Cowbells go quiet on a 3rd and 5.
Let him try a field goal. Might as well. I mean, you had problems with it all year. Did Corral take that knee on purpose to extend the attempt here for the kicker?
Lovertich?
Excuse me. What did I say?
Talking so much Egg Bowl, you've now transposed quarterbacks from one team to the other.
Did Lovertich take that knee on purpose to make this a longer attempt?
That's 43. One make already today, and now make it 2. And yet, even a made field goal will not rouse some on hand here at Starkville. I do have another question.
Yeah.
We don't know if he came with anybody, but when the fans sitting around him leave, do they wake him up?
You have to, right? At least a security guard at some point is going to have to be like, sir, it's time to go home. Like last call at the bar. Like you got to get out of here. You don't got to go home, but you can't stay here.
Well, most big stadiums.
Someone checked on him just to make sure he's breathing up there.
Most big stadiums get cleaned out with leaf blowers at the end to blow all the trash to the aisles.
Right.
But if Cowbells didn't wake you up, I don't know what will. Maybe he's just staying until Thursday.
Think he tailgated too hard?
There are some questions we're going to have to go home not knowing the answers to.
I need to know, Mike.
So the positives in the kicking game today, made field goals. The negatives on the kickoff there from Scott Goodman. That's the second kickoff out of bounds today.
Well, Mike Leach can feel good about his kicker heading into the Egg Bowl. He said to us, whoever makes the kicks will kick, and he said he brought in a couple from the tryouts to compete in practice.
That's been the case punting too, basically. Right. Whoever has the better week gets to punt. Your biggest takeaway from today is going to be what, Dustin?
I bet Mississippi State did what they're supposed to do. You know, you schedule these games late in the season. You know, it's nice for Tennessee State to come play an SEC program on the road. They're going to be huge underdogs. They were. The fact that Mississippi State got out of the game relatively healthy, that's important going into the Egg Bowl. And they've got this is a noon kickoff, Eastern, 11 local. So now they've got about a 7.5-hour jump on prepping for that Egg Bowl after a nice win. So they'll go to 7-4 on the season.
Couple of legends out on the field, Leach and George, in their own respective ways. A 55-10 victory for Mississippi State. Couple more records fall today in the Bulldogs record books. And that puts a lid on the day in Starkville. College football continues on the SEC Network with Florida and Missouri at 4 Eastern. For our entire